great. It sounds like the revolution is still alive and well. You know, I don't have any announcements tonight, but I'm going to give you a hint. Stay alert for the rest of the week. A few things to work out, but I think we're getting close. Stay tuned. But it is great to be here among friends. As I always said, you probably heard me say this again before, and that is, when I go to speak on the House floor, or after I speak on the House floor, I never get applause. This is encouraging. So I'm very pleased that the momentum has continued. The truth is, when I first started in politics, I really didn't think I would ever be elected. because you know, I took the same stance I take now, and I thought people would totally reject it and want to just stop instead of their liberties. But I was pleasantly surprised, and I thought, well, maybe if I just vote the way I'm supposed to, they'll change their tune and they'll realize what I'm all about, and then they won't re-elect me. I got re-elected. Now, when the last campaign started, I thought, well, we could do some good. We can contribute, and I wanted to do that because that's what I've been doing for a lot of my life, and that is promoting the cause of liberty. I was very pleased with the enthusiasm last time, especially when we went to the campuses and met the young people, and that continues. But where I was really amazed is, you know, during that last campaign, we had a little struggle. On occasion, the media didn't give us a lot of credibility, you know. But when the campaign was over, lo and behold, instead of me being able to go back to my quieter life and nobody noticing, all of a sudden, you know, there was a crisis that came, and we had been talking about it, the financial bubble burst, and then we started getting the calls, even from the stations that said nothing very nice during the campaign. But that has continued, and last week we were up in New York, and we had a fair amount of interviews. A lot was to promote a book, and then also when I got back, I was pretty tired. I thought, well, I'm going to take Wednesday off. This is a good day to be off. And when I got home, that was the day, you know, that Bernanke had his first press conference. And that turned out to be a long day, too. I think I did 14 interviews. So people are getting interested, and they're getting interested in the right subject. They're getting interested in a sound money system and getting rid of the federal government. When an individual like myself finishes, I always keep saying, why didn't I have 60 seconds instead of 30, or why didn't I have 2 minutes, or why didn't I phrase my sentences a little bit better? But the one thing that I really didn't get to express, and it takes a minute or two to do this, I'm sure you understand this already, but it's so important that everybody understands it. You know, the relationship of the Federal Reserve to the role of government. You can't have big government without somebody monetizing our debt. You can't have the wars if you don't have somebody monetizing the debt, because you can't borrow enough and you can't tax enough. If you want an entitlement system, you can't go into debt because if you don't have a Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve is key to this. If you didn't have the Federal Reserve, what would happen? Congress would spend, and interest rates would go up, and they'd have to quit. So this is the reason it is so important, not only because the Fed encourages big government, but what it also does, it creates the distortions, the malinvestment, it contributes to the debt, causes the financial bubble, which inevitably leads to the necessary correction and the collapse of the bubble. And that is what happened at the end of the last campaign, and certainly in 2008. And the American people are waking up. This is the first time in the history of the Federal Reserve we have them on the defense. The Federal Reserve Board chairman has to go and defend himself in press conferences and get on talk shows. You know, something big is happening in this country. Unfortunately, that something big that we're in the process of is very, very dangerous. And it has to do with the monetary policy, the value of the dollar, and of course tonight the other subject, I don't even think I had a question thrown at me on this, is why are the prices high? Well, I did get to mention a little bit, yes, it isn't so much just the prices, it's the deliberate depreciation of the dollar done by the Federal Reserve. They're worried about the default. I did get a chance to mention the default. Our government defaults all the time. I mean, in the past it was with the gold. They promise to pay the gold and then they don't. That's a default. And right now they're worried. Oh, if we can't borrow more money and print more money, we'll default on the debt. Well, what do you do when you just print money? This is what they want to do. They want to default on the debt because we owe $14 trillion. If you can get the inflation machine really churning and the value of the dollar loses 50%, in real terms, the debt has gone down to $7 trillion. So this is their deliberate attempt that they don't really care about the people who suffer, because the people who suffer are the ones who have higher prices, lose their job, lose their houses, and who are the beneficiaries when they say we have to prevent the depression? It's the people who ripped us off during the bubble formation, and they get bailed out, the big corporations and the big banks, while the little people end up paying the higher prices. That is the message that we have to get across, because the crisis is going to come, it's going to get a lot worse, and we better win the fight, because if we don't win the fight for liberty, we're going to get something else. It's going in the wrong direction. It's an authoritarian approach, a man on a white horse to come in and they're going to take care of us. They're going to protect us by protecting our interests overseas, perpetual war, and then have cradle-to-grave socialism. And if that happens, it's all at the expense of our liberties, and that's what freedom in our country is supposed to be all about.
Right.
There's, of course, been a lot of talk on foreign policy, and I did get a chance to talk about a very important issue. Now that Bin Laden is dead, we could go into the details a lot of how proper that was. But the whole thing is, that's over and done with, and what we must do now is grab the attention and say, yes, you told us that's the reason we went over there. Both Iraq and Afghanistan was supposed to be going after Al-Qaeda. Well, the ringleaders are caught, the people who perpetrated the crime are dead. It's time to say that across the board, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to follow the Constitution and only have those issues that are authorized. But if we are going to have a chance to maybe work through the system, which I'm not predicting we will, there's no reason in the world why the country couldn't come to agreeing on all this overseas expenditures before cutting health care for children. I don't see the reason for starting on that. And then, of course, we should work our way out of it, but unfortunately, the odds aren't very good. So our job is to decide what the role of government ought to be. The role of government should not be to police the world, it should not be to police your life, and it should not be to run the economy. The government there, our government is supposed to be very limited in scope. We're supposed to follow the rule of law. And under those circumstances, what we do is we release the creative energy of each and every one of us to assume responsibility for ourselves and to do the work that is necessary.